Belisarius Cawl, in his efforts to keep roboute happy, whilst also wanting to keep his own thing and roam around the galaxy looking into Blackstone, has created a Cawl Inferior, a communication device that roboute hides deep within his ship. So is the device just that? Or is it an AI? Does it have its own thoughts? Let's explore the idea. So welcome friends to another 40k video, and let's begin. So at this point in the story, roboute has passed several security measures and the Cawl Inferior is being revealed. It's switched on by a code given by a marine, then machines hidden behind the panelling surged into life. Thin lines in the metal walls, invisible before, glowed with sluggish golden energies. Circuitry engraved into the tank's glass glimmered similarly, and the face of the 20 heads twitched. Guilliman was absorbed by the jerking of their muscles, the weight pressing onto his psychic grew. Lacente, with permission, then leaves. The roboute, sensitive to psychic energies, experiences this. As the psychic energy network expanded, warding runes in the secret techno-arcana tongue of the Magi Psychana blazed brightly, along with others of obvious alien origin. Cawl was a magpie magos, taking what he needed, no matter its ancestry. Very similar to the Emperor in that regard, if you think about it. The muscle twitches in the tanks becomes a frenzy of gurgling, agitating the surface of the fluids that nourished them. Eyelids fluttered over eyes that appeared to contain shreds of intelligence, and they looked out from their watery prisons with absolute horror. The energy built, the thumping of the hidden devices levelled out to a quiet whir. The faces ceased their pained contortions. The eyes went blank and closed. The bubbling ceased, so it seems though they may be mad with pain, those heads in the tanks do have some sort of mind inside them, some sort of sentience. I propose that the minds on that ship interact psychically with the others that Cawl has, and that the moment of silence is after one has taken over the other, to pass on the information to the Cawl Inferior. Whether the minds are psychominds or receive messages like astropaths is unclear. Maybe the wars and tech are what links the minds, i.e. it's psychotech running through human minds. I have a theory that war tech, used by the Leagues of Votan and others in 40k, was the way Dark Age of Technology people made Geller fields and warp engines, etc., before Psychers came along to take up those roles. Perhaps with the Xenos ones, they take up a similar function here, linking the minds across space through the warp. Guilliman waited. Then a fresh voice spoke, an emotionless facsimile of Archmagos Belisarius Cawl. They then speak to each other. We won't go over this line by line, but pick up a few key moments. The Cawl Inferior says, "I am not Cawl. I simulate him. Familiar complaints act as social bonds between members of the human species. I seek to emulate this interaction, make you comfortable with my existence." This preamble is to ease tension and re-establish empathy between Cawl and roboute. Roboute thinks he could never shake the feeling of intense superiority hidden in Cawl's pronouncements, nor ignore the touch of sardonic humour that revealed itself from time to time, even in this soulless copy. It is not the report of the Cawl Inferior, it is the Archmagos Belisarius Cawl's report. "It is easy to forget," said Guilliman, "that you are a mechanism, and that such large amounts of info can be conveyed by such simple encoded messages. It insists that the information unlocks responses within itself, as it was given many scenarios by Cawl, and the info in the messages alters those pre-decided scenarios, and that these linked brains and logic engines in the greater portion of this chamber contain all eventualities relevant to the tasks undertaken by Lord Roboute Guilliman and Archmagos Belisarius Cawl." Guilliman looked around at the heads. They were too individual to have come from vat-born slaves, and there was no sign of the penal coding, tattoos worn by servitors drawn from criminal stock. He did not want to know where Cawl had sourced his grisly collection. To appropriately represent Cawl, could each of them have copies of the mind he has absorbed into himself over the course of his long life? We have names for a few, but I don't think a limit has been put on them. It's then the Cawl Inferior asks to be put in charge of Mars, and roboute explains why he can't do it. In the great work of Cawl, Belisarius later denies wanting that, showing some possible self-intelligence on behalf of this creature, the Cawl Inferior, that it has its own intents and ambitions. Later it says, "I am no abominable intelligence as your attitude implies. You believe me to be. My responses are not spontaneously generated, but predetermined. The servitors that make up my being are sanctioned for use. They are not machines, and what they generate, me, the Cawl Inferior, is not a unique creation, but a limited expression of Archmagus Belisarius Cawl's mind. By these means I am free of the wickedness of forbidden sentience. And to be fair, that is normally the bar the Imperium accepts things at. Machine spirits have fleshy parts and they accept servitors. So I ask, is this any different?" They talk more and Roboute thinks the machine waited expectantly. Far too lifelike for a supposedly lifeless machine. Roboute did not believe it was free of will. Guilliman doubted that the Archmagus was telling him the complete truth about how the machine worked. It was clearly partly psychic in nature, and its blend of Xenos and Imperial technologies made it entirely heretical by the tenets of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Whether it could think or not, it also shows emotion, asking for protection from the Mechanicus if they find out what it does. Guilliman laughed. He did not laugh often now, and when he did it was sorrowful. "The Cawl Inferior, you betray your disguise. You wish for protection as the living being would. It says if Cawl dies, he will be needed, and that Cawl can look after himself. So we have self-preservation and a little bit of desire for this being who claims to be a copy." After things clacked and turned somewhere, awaiting Roboute Guilliman's response, another simple code would be projected to a sick and ghoulish mind aboard Cawl's Ark ship. In the same way that Cawl's messages had been delivered to Guilliman, preset responses would activate within this other unit in response to the code. Also, the Cawl Inferior insisted. Roboute says he needs to see Cawl face to face, and the Inferior says that's not possible. Roboute observes Guilliman stared at the servitors. Dead eyes in dead heads stared back, oblivious to his suspicion. Could they see him? Could the things lie? "I have no information to impart," said the Cawl Inferior. "Good day, my Lord Guilliman." The machine shut off. The glimmering light in the channels died. With one last spastic jerk, the heads went slack in their tanks. The doors slid shut over each armor-glass compartment. Suddenly the painful pressure of the machine was reduced to its merely uncomfortable background level. Guilliman breathed hard through his teeth. These consultations inside his ship were tense. For all Belisarius Cawl's usefulness and his desire to save mankind, Guilliman could foresee a time when he could become a problem. We also get another insight into this maybe sort of air creation. The Roboute Inferior is what it's called, as featured in Genefather. Relevant parts for this video would be that Cawl refers to the Roboute Inferior as a simulacrum, and Cawl says the visuals on the AI are unclear to hide the guilt of his crime. Cawl says he can't make a complete copy of the Primarch's mind, and the sim was made to ensure, when the Primarch woke up, there was not going to be another horror situation. At one point it sounds different to Cawl's ears. The archaic scream flared. Interference lines tracked across the glass. The Guilliman Inferior seemed to become momentarily realer. It shouldn't do that. Cawl felt a pang of unaccustomed unease and wondered just what exactly he had created. So what's your conclusion? I feel from the initial lore we get on the Inferior, it does seem like an advanced servitor, but with the suspicion of Roboute and the fact that Cawl feels guilty for making the Roboute Inferior, I'm going to go with the answer that yes, it is an abominable intelligence, thus why he feels guilty. And if you like this video on 40k, then why not try this one? And if you want a lot of videos, I have 2 playlists on the channel you can check out.